Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. Amara woke to the acrid scent of bleach and sweat. Morning light slanted through a narrow window, illuminating the peeling walls of the room she'd once shared with her mother. Now those walls echoed with Gloria's harsh footsteps as she bustled through the cottage's single hallway. Amara's heart hammered against ribs still bruised from last night's forced chores. She pulled herself out of the thin mattress and reached under the tattered nightgown for the only comfort her mother had left, her leather-bound journal. Its pages were filled with gentle sketchings of wildflowers and quiet prayers. It was all she had. Amara. Move faster, Gloria's voice sliced through the silence. The stepmother stood in the doorway, arms crossed over a silk robe, her eyes cold as iron. I need those dishes sparkling before sunrise. Amara swallowed, steeling herself. Yes, Gloria, she whispered, rising. In the kitchen, Gloria scrutinized every plate, her fingertips tapping like hailstones. When Amara's hands trembled, Gloria slapped her palm. Pain flared. Don't slow me down. Mother wanted obedience, but I'll accept excellence. Amara bit back tears and scrubbed the last plate until her knuckles bled. By midday, Gloria had wrested heirlooms, mother's gold locket, grandmother's china, into her own purse. Amara watched helplessly from the doorway. They were promised to me, she pleaded. Gloria laughed, a brittle sound. Promises vanish with the dead. Your future is chores and obedience. Returning to the bedroom, Amara discovered a hidden compartment in her mother's wardrobe. Inside lay a worn envelope marked, "To Amara for college." Her pulse thundered as she pried it open. Bank statements, signatures, and a modest fund earmarked for tuition. Hope flickered. Gloria's cruelty had overlooked one secret. When Gloria summoned her to scrub the floorboards, Amara cradled the envelope beneath her rag. Each sweep of the mop felt lighter with possibility. That night, she crouched by candlelight in the attic corner, calculating costs, books, fees, uniforms. The fund wouldn't cover everything, but it was a start. A soft sound drew her attention. A loose floorboard gave way, revealing a small cache of coins and a faded photograph of her mother as a young student, beaming in cap and gown. Amara's eyes glistened with fierce resolve. She would honor her mother's legacy. Even if she had to work until dawn for Gloria's whims, she would not be enslaved by bitterness. Swallowing fear, Amara slipped the photograph into her journal and whispered, "I will reclaim my future, for you, Mama." The hearth's dying embers seemed to glow in answer. Dawn arrived with Gloria's shrill whistle. Amara rose before the roosters, mop in hand. She moved silently through rows of scrubbed floors and polished windows, her mind focused on classes at the community college. At first light, she reached the corner where Mrs. Kalu ran a makeshift preschool. Amara smiled and gathered the children. "Good morning, Angeline," she greeted the smallest, whose curls bobbed with excitement. As she guided them through counting exercises, she felt the familiar tug of exhaustion. Yet each giggle and triumphant shout was a lifeline. By 9, she jogged to Gloria's grocery job, stocking shelves with mechanical precision. When a customer asked about the organic flour, Amara's eyes lit up. "You can bake with it," she suggested, surprising herself. The woman nodded, adding it to her basket. Small sparks of pride flickered. Afternoon sunlight found her perched on a classroom stool, textbooks balanced on her knees. Professor Okoye introduced literary analysis. Amara furrowed her brow, absorbing every notion as if it were sacred scripture. She jotted notes furiously. "Amara," the professor called, "your perspective on Achebe's use of folklore is insightful." Heat rushed to her cheeks. She nodded, voice steady. "Thank you, sir." Nightfall brought Gloria's fury. "You dare be late?" she snarled, grabbing Amara's wrist. Pain shot up Amara's arm. "Don't interfere with my household." Tears blurred her vision, but the memory of her mother's last smile steadied her. "I'm just learning." Gloria sneered and tossed her into the cramped kitchen. Amara stood, battered but unbroken. She retrieved her mother's recipe book, its pages stained with butter and hope. Tonight she would bake. She measured flour by feel, sugar by memory, and coaxed a dough to life beneath her fingertips. The oven's heat warmed more than the chilled kitchen. Aromas of vanilla and spice filled the air, weaving threads of joy through the gloom. When she tasted the first crisp edge, Amara closed her eyes. For a moment she tasted freedom. By pre-dawn, trays of golden biscuits lined the windowsill. Amara wrapped them in wax paper and slipped out. Under a street lamp's glow, she distributed samples to the night shift guards. One wolfish bite and a guard's stern face softened. "Where did you learn to bake like this?" he asked, mouth full. Amara fluttered eyelashes. "My mother taught me." Word spread. At the supermarket, customers began requesting those morning breads. Amara scribbled orders on loose receipts. Each sale added coins to the college fund. Back home, Gloria glared at the cereal box open on the table. "You wasted eggs again." Amara caught her breath. "Just experimenting." Gloria's lip curled. "Your place is here, not playing chef." But word reached the community center. Mrs. Kalu approached Amara after class. "The head chef at Cafe Umoja wants a sample." Amara's throat tightened. Opportunity and terror entwined. That night, she baked her signature cardamom loaf. When the chef appeared, he inhaled deeply. "This has promise," he murmured, tearing a piece. "We'll discuss next steps." Amara's heart raced. The idea of storefronts and partnerships flickered into focus. Yet she dared not dream too big. Gloria's curse still loomed. Each dawn broke with chores, scrubbing, cooking, laundering, until Amara's hands ached like old bones. Yet beneath the ache, ambition pulsed. She rose before Gloria, slipping financial documents into her tattered satchel. At the garage where her mother once worked part-time, Amara found old boxes of heirloom utensils, copper pots, steel sieves. She enlisted an aging blacksmith to repair dents. "Your mother loved these," he whispered, wiping sweat from his brow. Amara tucked them into a blanket, resolve stealing her heart. Day classes introduced marketing fundamentals. Amara plotted a brand, Mama's Hearth. She sketched logos in the margins of her notebook. Night brought Gloria's latest decree, extra chores for stealing time. Amara knelt by the stove, stirring a simmer of stew for the household. Each ladleful reminded her of every sacrifice she'd made for knowledge. At midnight, she met the cafe owner under flickering street lamps. They reviewed her business plan, ingredient sourcing, pricing, community outreach. When he nodded approval, Amara exhaled. A loan application now seemed within reach. A week later, Amara pitched Mama's Hearth at a small grant competition. Standing before judges, she felt her mother's journal heavy in her pocket. She spoke of loss, of Gloria's cruelty, of a secret fund guarded through grief. Her voice trembled as she described feeding hungry neighbors and paying for her education one pastry at a time. Silence followed her final words. Then applause, soft then sweeping. The panel awarded her seed funding and offered a mentor. Tears blurred Amara's vision as she accepted the check. Outside, Gloria waited, arms crossed. "You won." Gloria spat. "Money won't buy respect." Amara straightened, chest high. "Respect is earned by action, Gloria. I've earned mine." Gloria's lips thinned. Amara turned away, clutching her prize. Dawn's first light painted the sky in rose and gold. For Amara, it signaled a new beginning, one she would seize, one hard one and forever her own. Amara's alarm buzzed before dawn. The world outside her window still slumbered under a velvet sky as she rolled from her narrow bed. She ate a piece of stale bread, washed it with cold water, and gathered her battered messenger bag. The neighborhood children waited at the gate, sleepy faces and tangled hair. Under the gnarled trunk of the mango tree, Amara greeted them with a gentle smile. "Good morning, everyone," she said. "Let's practice our reading before the sun gets too high." The children huddled around her, textbooks and notebooks in their laps. She guided them through phonics and arithmetic, her voice patient, encouraging. Each time a child pronounced a new word, Amara's heart swelled. She used her mother's quiet lessons to nurture their confidence. By mid-morning, the children waved goodbye and returned to their own homes. Amara hurried to the supermarket where Gloria insisted she work 15 hours a day. Rows of shelves gleamed under fluorescent lights. Amara stocked canned goods and pressed price labels with mechanical precision. The foreman barked orders and she obeyed without complaint. Yet every box she placed carried a silent vow: she would not remain a mere shelf stocker forever. At noon, Amara stole away to campus. The community college corridors bustled with students. In Professor Aid's sociology class, she debated social mobility with fervor, drawing on her own experience. Access to resources should not depend on birth, she argued. The professor nodded approvingly. "Well said, Amara." Night fell before she returned. Gloria snarled when Amara drifted in at midnight. "Classes can wait," she snapped, "but chores cannot." Amara scrubbed floors until her knees burned and battered laundry until her fingers pruned. Her body ached, her spirit strained, but she endured. Inside her satchel lay lecture notes and a bulb of hope. Leaving the satchel beneath the table, she sank onto the cold floor. She closed her eyes and let her mind wander to memories, her mother's gentle hum as she kneaded dough, the warmth of sunlit kitchens, the comfort of fresh bread. She pictured herself standing behind a counter, offering a warm loaf to a waiting customer, their face lighting with delight. The thought made her heart tighten. She thought of the notebook she carried, not just for lectures but as a testament to her mother's wisdom. Each scribble represented hope. She pressed her palms to her temples and whispered, "I will honor your dreams, Mama." Outside, the night breeze rattled the window pane, but inside, her resolve burned bright. She rose, placed her hand over her heart and inhaled deeply. A new day would bring new trials, and new chances. She gathered her lecture notes and returned to scrubbing floors, every stroke reminding her that each well-scrubbed tile drew her closer to her own purpose. With each chore she built the foundation of her future, brick by brick. When dawn's first light crept over the horizon, Amara vowed to seize every moment, every sunrise, until her mother's vision became reality. Tomorrow starts now. Always. The next afternoon, as Amara collapsed onto a rickety stool to catch her breath, her eyes drifted upward. A loose floorboard at the back of Gloria's sitting room beckoned. She pried it open, heart fluttering. Nestled beneath lay a dusty leather-bound book she didn't recognize. Her fingers trembled as she flipped it open. Crisp pages inked in her mother's flowing hand, recipes for pastries, breads, and confections. "Mama," she whispered. Each recipe carried small margin notes. Use local millet flour, let dough rest 1 hour, fold gently so air remains. Amara traced the words with reverence. She sank to the floor, the weight of possibility heavier than exhaustion. That night, after Gloria banished her for the third time, Amara crept into the cramped kitchen. She dusted a small tin with flour, readied water, sugar, and a fistful of spices. The first recipe, coconut pineapple turnover. She followed each margin instruction as if performing a ceremony. The dough whispered beneath her fingertips, pliant and hopeful. As the pastries baked, warm steam filled the dim room. Amara inhaled deeply. The aroma carried her back to childhood afternoons when her mother had taught her in laughter-filled kitchens. Tears blurred her vision as she placed golden turnovers on a humble plate. She knew she couldn't sell them here, under Gloria's roof, yet she needed proof before risking discovery. At dawn, she crept out with 3 turnovers in a small basket. Under a streetlight she approached Mr. Ballaghan, the night shift security guard. "Try one," she offered. He sniffed then bit down. His eyes widened. "My goodness. You made this." Her lips curved, heart pounding. "Mama's recipe." He handed over 2 sadies. Amara hid the coins in her journal. Returning, she scribbled under a pseudonym, "Mama's Hearth," and posted a photo of crisp turnovers on the community bulletin board. By midday, neighbors were asking where to order more. Over the next 2 days, she experimented: ginger cardamom scones, maize honey biscuits, sweet potato rolls. Each batch she tested on market vendors, street vendors, even her tutor at college. Praise and coins came in equal measure. And each time, Amara added notes, adjusting baking times, tweaking spice ratios, just as her mother had. Gloria noticed the flour footprints on the hearth and demanded answers. Amara feigned innocence and claimed she'd been preparing extra porridge for a sick neighbor. Gloria harumphed but let it pass. Inside, Amara's mind raced. If she could master these recipes, she could build something lasting. The hidden college fund was precious, but these recipes, her mother's legacy, might sustain her forever. As she fell asleep that night, pages of that leather book clutched to her chest, hope and hunger intertwined. For the first time in weeks, Amara smiled. By sunrise, word had spread: Mama's Hearth, pastries were worth seeking out. Amara balanced 2 sacks, one of ingredients, one of laundry, as she darted through alleyways to deliver orders. The market women lined up, coins jingling in her satchel. At the college gate, she sold crumbly ginger scones to students arriving late for lecture. Lecture halls buzzed about her pastries. One student insisted that if she was ever feeling down, a sweet potato roll from Mama's Hearth would fix it. Amara blushed when Professor Okoye praised her. "I hear your baking nourishes the soul too." Night after night, Amara's cramped kitchen transformed into a clandestine bakery. She recycled empty tins as baking trays and used a battered bicycle lamp to check dough. Under her mother's handwritten guidance, she perfected swirl buns and spice-kissed cookies. Online, under a community center bulletin, she posted photos: a steaming coconut pineapple turnover, its edges crisp and golden, a stack of maize honey biscuits, a braided cardamom loaf. Comments flooded in: Where can I buy? Price. Delivery? Each notification made Amara's pulse pound. She negotiated discreetly with Mr. Baligan to meet him at dawn for payments and fresh orders. He agreed to spread word among the guards and night shift nurses. Business doubled overnight. Amara carefully logged every sale in her mother's journal, alongside her college expenses. Gloria grew suspicious. One afternoon she cornered Amara in the sitting room. "You're always disappearing," she accused. Amara forced a casual smile. "Just juggling chores and studies." Gloria's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. That night, Amara counted her earnings under the flicker of a kerosene lamp. Enough to buy small baking tins and extra flour. The college fund would stretch further now. But more important was the spark beneath her ribcage, the realization that her mother's recipes were more than memory, they were her path forward. She slipped into bed with her mother's recipe book open on her chest, the soft hum of the city drifting through cracked windows. Tomorrow she would scale up again. By dawn the new tins had arrived. Amara's kitchen pulsed with purpose as she rolled dough, whisked glazes and lined trays. Today's special, mango lime twists, a nod to local fruit stalls. She delivered the first batch to the cafe owner who had sampled her in Chapter 3. He greeted her in the alley, adjusting his chef's whites. "Your twists are delightful," he said, biting into a warm loop. "I'll feature them at table service. We'll start with 5 dozen next week." Amara's knees trembled. "Thank you," she whispered. I appreciate the chance." Back home she counted advance payment, enough to pay for a full semester's textbooks. Gloria noticed the extra coins on the table. "What is this?" she demanded. Amara explained it was reimbursement for her tutoring work. Gloria grunted but turned away. At college her classmates ached for more. The student council president invited her to cater the end-of-semester mixer. Amara sketched menus on scrap paper. Cardamom pear tarts, millet coconut bars, ginger honey loaf. Night after night she tested new recipes, infused syrups, fruit compotes, rustic breads. Each success built confidence. Online the Mama's Hearth bulletin flooded with pre-orders. A local blogger snapped photos and raved about her resilient young baker who rose from servitude to enterprise. On a rare break, Amara met Mrs. Kalu at the community center. The elderly teacher clasped her hands. "You've honored your mother's legacy," she said. "I arranged a microloan application on your behalf." Amara's eyes filled. "Thank you," she choked out. That evening she drafted a plan for a small storefront, just enough space for an oven and a few shelves. She tabulated costs, sketched frontage ideas, and envisioned a sign painted in sunflower yellow. Gloria's investments had collapsed, her debts mounting. Yet Amara kept her success secret. She didn't want pity, she wanted independence. As she closed her ledger she whispered, "We're just getting started." At midnight the last delivery rolled away, 5 dozen mango lime twists bound for the cafe's morning rush. In the quiet kitchen, Amara surveyed her domain. Flour dust footprints, lined trays, her mother's recipe book open to a new page. She flipped to the margin of spiced banana loaf, where her mother had scrawled, "Share with strangers, they become friends." The words buoyed her. With microloan funds, Amara rented a tiny storefront 2 blocks from the college. Days blurred into one long task, painting walls in warm terracotta, installing a second-hand oven, staining wooden shelving carved with sunflower motifs. Her loyal team formed slowly: Maria, who had learned to knit at home, Jide, a high school dropout eager to learn trade, and Funk, an aspiring artist who painted menus on reclaimed wood. Under Amara's guidance, they practiced recipes until each bun and loaf met her mother's exacting standards. On opening day the sun shone as neighbors lined up outside. The sign read "Mama's Hearth, fresh bakes and warm hearts." Amara stood behind the counter in a simple linen dress, heart pounding. "Welcome," she greeted the first customer, handing over a ginger cardamom scone. He closed his eyes and sighed. Perfect. Word spread through social media shares, local news clips, and word of mouth. Orders poured in for weddings, fundraisers, and weekend markets. Amara balanced her college schedule with bakery meetings and charity bake-offs for widows and orphans. That night she sank into her chair, exhausted. She opened her mother's journal to the last blank page and began to write, "Today I stood in my own shop. The world still turns and I." Her phone buzzed. A message from the cafe owner. "Ready for 200 more twists tomorrow?" Amara smiled, tears glistening. Underneath decades of hardship, she had unearthed a new legacy. Tomorrow she thought, "I'll bake more than bread. I'll bake hope." Amara surveyed the kitchen behind her modest storefront, noting every crack in the tiled floor and scuff on the oven's enamel coating. The morning sun streamed through the front window of Mama's hearth, illuminating trays of freshly baked millet loaves. After weeks of orders, she'd reinvested the bulk of her profits to purchase a commercial-grade oven and a stainless steel mixer. These machines would not only double production but also reduce the labor she and Maria endured. "Can you help me test this new batch, Jide?" she asked, handing him a tray of ginger cardamom buns. He took a bite and nodded, his eyes widening. "Perfect crust, crumb," he affirmed. Funk arrived carrying a bundle of fresh sugarcane and cocoa pods from the farmer's market. Amara smiled as they unloaded the produce. The partnership she'd negotiated with the local cooperative meant premium ingredients at fair prices and direct support for villagers. She admired the rich cocoa smell, knowing these pods would transform simple pastries into decadent treats. As the team set to work, Amara reviewed the day's schedule, meetings with 2 farmers at noon and an evening tasting event for potential investors. She trusted Maria to oversee morning sales while Funk sketched new menu signs. Collaboration had become the lifeblood of her bakery. At midday, Amara walked down dusty lanes to the cooperative's central barn. Tall stacks of baskets brimmed with organic grains and farm-fresh eggs. Elder Chief Naji greeted her warmly, his leathery hands extending in welcome. "You honor our work by baking with integrity," he said. They signed an agreement that bound Mama's hearth to buy 50 sacks of millet monthly, ensuring both steady income for farmers and quality control for her products. Returning to the bakery, Amara felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Yet instead of dread, she experienced exhilaration. She was forging a community network rooted in mutual respect and shared prosperity. In the afternoon lull, customers drifted in to sample the new batch of cocoa-infused banana bread. A soft murmur of praise filled the shop. Amara greeted each guest, basting smiles and small slices. "Thank you for believing in us," she said to a teacher who'd been her first tutor client. The woman patted her hand. "Your mother would be proud." As dusk approached, Amara gathered her team at a worn wooden table. She divided the morning profits, allocated funds for equipment maintenance, and announced plans to hire a delivery cyclist. Eyes bright, they discussed expansion possibilities, a second outlet, specialty cake orders, holiday bundles. When the team dispersed, Amara lingered behind the counter, brushing a stray flour grain from the oak surface. She stared at her reflection in the glass display case, a young woman molded by loss but empowered by vision. The bakery hummed with warmth and promise, a far cry from the cold floors she'd once scrubbed for Gloria. With every reinvested coin she was building something more than a business, she was building a legacy. Tomorrow held even more promise. Amara stepped into the courtyard behind Mama's hearth to meet young Tund, the millet farmer whose golden field stretched beyond the town limits. She handed him the cooperative contract. "These terms ensure fair wages, prompt payment," she explained, pointing to the highlighted clauses. Tund's weathered face split into a grin as he traced the paper with calloused fingers. "My family can plan our season now," he said. Amara's chest swelled. Next she greeted Madame Ao at her cocoa grove. Under the shade of towering trees, Madame Ao handed Amara a freshly harvested bean pod. Amara cracked it open and tasted the rich nibs. "Your mother's spirit shines in these," Madame Ao declared. They drafted a profit-sharing model that would fund school fees for local children and guarantee grade A beans for the bakery. Returning to the storefront, Amara convened her team. "Today we perfect the fair trade bread line," she announced. Maria kneaded dough fortified with millet flour. Jide tested yeast blends for rise and resilience. Funk painted labels highlighting origin stories. Over mugs of spiced tea they critiqued textures and flavors. "More crunch," Jide suggested. "Add honey," Maria countered. Funk proposed eco-friendly packaging. Their laughter and passion energized Amara's resolve. She placed orders: 40 sacks of millet, 15 crates of sugarcane, 20 baskets of cocoa. Deliveries would align with her production schedule to maintain freshness. Each handshake with a farmer affirmed a shared vision: community prosperity. That evening, Amara hosted an intimate tasting for local educators and entrepreneurs. Lanterns glowed above picnic tables. Guests sampled millet cocoa loaves, pear cardamom tarts, and sweet potato rolls. A school principal wiped tears after tasting a morsel. "This tastes like home," she murmured. A visiting investor raised her glass to the fledgling baker. "Mama's hearth is more than food, it's social impact meeting culinary art." After everyone left, Amara and her team packed leftover samples into cloth sacks labeled for widows and orphans. "Share the warmth," she said. They loaded the sacks onto Jide's bicycle, smiles bright in the lantern light. Before locking the door, Amara recorded journal entries, expenses, farmer feedback, recipe ideas, and notes on team morale. Under a sky swept with stars, she paused, breathing in the mingled scents of cinnamon, cocoa, and fresh earth. She recognized that her mother's dream had grown beyond a recipe book. It had become a living network of compassion, quality, and shared hope. News of Mama's hearth spread like wildfire. At dawn, a local blogger arrived, camera in hand, to capture the hustle of Amara's volunteers preparing breakfast packs. "Tell our readers why you started this," she asked. Amara smiled, glancing at a row of orphans filing into the courtyard. "My mother believed bread could nourish both body and spirit," she said. "Here, every loaf feeds someone's dream." By mid-morning, a regional news crew set up outside the shop. A reporter in crisp attire approached Amara. "You fed hundreds while balancing college?" he marveled. She nodded, handing him a ginger pear bun. "Opportunity comes from persistence and community," she replied. The cameraman panned across volunteers serving hot cocoa to the elderly. Meanwhile, social media buzz exploded. Under the hashtag Mama's Hearth Rise, photos of golden loaves, wide-eyed children, and weathered farmers celebrating filled feeds. Orders poured in from neighboring towns. Amara's phone buzzed non-stop with requests for catering, wholesale partnerships, and speaking engagements. Inside, Maria and Jide manned the ovens, producing batch after batch of cocoa millet tarts. Funk arranged embroidered banners reading "Bake Hope" above the counter. A parade of customers, teachers, shopkeepers, especially vulnerable families, lined up, their faces alight with gratitude. Gloria's name was nowhere in the headlines. In contrast, Amara was lauded as a visionary entrepreneur. Invitations arrived: a regional food fair, a women in business symposium, a charity gala. Each offer brought butterflies to her stomach but also fierce pride. That evening she addressed her team: "We've risen from scrubbed floors to regional fame. Never forget why we bake." Maria's eyes glistened, Jide pumped a fist. Funk raised her paint-stained hands. They toasted with mugs of spiced tea. Back in the darkened storefront, Amara counted the day's proceeds, enough to sponsor college tuition for 2 scholarship recipients. She smiled, imagining their futures. Outside, a lone street lamp illuminated the Mama's Hearth sign. Beneath it, Amara lingered, letting the magnitude of her journey settle in her bones. From orphan daughter to a regional beacon of resilience and compassion. Meanwhile, across town, Gloria's investments unraveled. Luxury shops closed under debt notices. Creditors lined the driveway of her grand villa. Her friends abandoned her, leaving empty champagne glasses on marble counters. Pride had given way to panic. One afternoon, Gloria stormed into Mama's Hearth, disguised under oversized sunglasses. She watched in silence as Amara's team prepared care packages for widows. Maria ladled steaming porridge, Jide packed fresh bread, Funk tied bundles with twine. The warmth and purpose pierced Gloria's heart. Amara emerged from the back, startled to see her stepmother. "Gloria?" she said softly. Gloria's lip trembled. I lost everything," she confessed, voice brittle. "I came to beg a job, or mercy." Amara's throat tightened. Memories of stolen heirlooms and harsh commands flickered before her eyes. Behind them, customers lined up, unaware of the tension. A journalist and local dignitaries watched from a distance, sensing drama. Gloria's shoulders sagged as she realized she had nowhere else to turn. Amara closed the oven door and approached. "Sit," she offered, guiding her stepmother to a wooden bench. For a moment, the world hushed. Then Gloria's tears fell. "I was cruel," she whispered. "I thought money meant power." Her head bowed, ruined facade exposed. Amara felt her own resolve waver. The girl who once scrubbed floors under Gloria's demands now held the power to forgive, or condemn. The bakery's chatter and laughter resumed around them, a living testament to transformation. At last Amara spoke. "It's not too late," she said. "But forgiveness must be earned." Gloria nodded, voice small. "Tell me how." Amara inhaled the scent of fresh bread and possibility. She would set the terms. Snow-white lanterns glowed over Mama's Hearth courtyard as Amara hosted her annual charity gala for widows and orphans. Tables bowed under cocoa cardamom cakes, millet honey loaves, and crystal bowls of spiced tea. Local officials, journalists, and community leaders mingled, praising the bakery's impact. A sign at the entrance read, From Loss to Legacy. Amara circulated among guests, greeting each with warmth. She paused by the food table where Maria topped tiny purses of pastries with ribbons. Jide checked supplies for the after-party soiree. Funk adjusted framed photos chronicling the bakery's journey. The engine of community-humored content, unified by her mother's recipes. A hush fell as the gala host took the small stage. "Tonight we celebrate more than business," she began. "We honor resilience, compassion, and the power of forgiveness." She gestured to Amara. Applause rose in waves. Just then Gloria appeared at the courtyard entrance, clutching a worn recipe book, her greatest inheritance. Gasps rippled through the crowd. She approached timidly. Amara slipped off the stage and met her. Faces turned, cameras clicked. Gloria held out the book. "I wish to serve," she said, voice trembling. "Teach me to bake again, teach me to give." Silence hung. Then Amara took the book with a steady hand. She led Gloria to the pastry table and whispered instructions to Maria. "Show her how to fold dough." As guests watched, stepmother and daughter worked side by side, folding, pressing, and sharing tentative smiles. The courtyard lights flickered like blessings. In that moment, past wounds began to heal in the glow of shared purpose. And the world witnessed that true legacy is not wealth or power, but the capacity to transform pain into generosity, one loaf at a time. The charity gala's afterglow still shimmered in Amara's mind as dawn crept through Mama's hearth windows. Boxes of leftover pastries were stacked behind the counter, destined for early morning deliveries to the orphanage. Amara moved with calm precision, her mind already racing through the day's agenda. A meeting with the Regional Food Fair Committee, a campus seminar on social enterprise, and a visit to Gloria's villa, now reduced to rent notices and reclaimed furniture, to collect the heirloom china she had once seized. At the orphanage, Amara greeted the children by name, their wide eyes alight at the sight of cinnamon, sugar twists and millet coconut bars. She noticed 14-year-old Odessa was limp and knelt beside her, tucking a shawl around the girl's shoulders. "I hear you love cardamom loaf," Amara whispered, offering a slice. Odessa's smile was radiant. "You're the only one who remembers," she murmured. Amara's chest tightened. This was more than business, it was the continuation of her mother's compassion. Next, she cycled to the community college, petals burning rubber against the asphalt. In the seminar hall, rows of hopeful students waited. Amara spoke of turning adversity into action, of baking hope from grief. She read an excerpt from her mother's journal, "Let kindness rise with every loaf." Applause thundered. Afterward, students formed a line to ask questions, some seeking advice on starting ventures, others simply yearning for encouragement. Each inquiry reminded Amara why she'd endured sleepless nights and harsh scoldings. By midday she arrived at the fairgrounds, where food vendors prepared stalls beneath colorful tarps. The committee chair, Mrs. Ease, greeted her with a firm embrace. "Your bakery won Best Social Impact Award, twice. We want your flagship stall this year." Amara's heart sang. She confirmed logistics, power supply, permit fees, covered by her charity fund, and promotional banners. As she finalized details, a voice called from behind. "Amara." She turned to see Gloria, dressed in muted grays and carrying a battered portfolio. Gloria's gaze was steady but vulnerable. "I've come for my mother's china," she said, voice low. Amara glanced at the table. Delicate teacups rimmed in gold, a sugar bowl bearing her grandmother's initials. Memories flooded back, Gloria's triumphant confiscation, the hollow pit it left in Amara's heart. Yet today was different. Amara approached, fingertips hovering above a chipped saucer. "You can have it," she said. Gloria blinked. "But, would you join me for tea tomorrow?" Amara studied her stepmother's face. It carried genuine regret, not entitlement. She nodded. "Tomorrow after classes." Gloria exhaled, relief and apprehension mingling. They packed the china into Gloria's tote in silence. As Gloria departed, she paused and looked back. I want to learn," she said. Amara managed a small smile. "Then arrive at 9. I'll teach you to knead dough." That evening, Amara reflected on the day's triumphs and reconciliations. The orphan's joy, the student's curiosity, the fair's invitation and Gloria's tentative peace, all wove into a tapestry richer than any pastry. She closed her eyes and whispered to her mother's journal, resting on the counter, "We rise together." Outside, the night air carried distant laughter, proof that generosity, like yeast, could raise more than dough. The following morning, Gloria arrived at Mama's hearth bright and early, clutching a fresh notebook. She looked unsteady in the worn jeans and scarf Amara had chosen for her, but her eyes held determination. Amara guided her to the dough prep table where stainless steel mixers stood quiet. First lesson, Amara said, mixing flour and water in a polished bowl, is feeling the dough. She dipped her fingers into the pale mix. It should be springy, not sticky. Gloria imitated, pressing palms into the mound. Her brows furrowed. Too dry? She asked. Amara shook her head. A little more water. Gloria poured slowly, her hands trembling slightly. When the dough formed a smooth mass, her lips curved into a triumphant grin. It's alive, she breathed. Amara nodded. Just like us. They worked side by side, Gloria rinsing tools while Amara measured spices for the special sunrise loaf. A hush fell as the aroma of turmeric and millet filled the air. Customers trickled in, surprised to find Gloria greeting them. Fresh pastries today, she announced, voice shy but genuine. Patrons exchanged curious smiles and placed orders. At noon, Amara led Gloria through customer service, weighing loaves, wrapping pastries in branded paper and handling payments. Gloria's initial stiffness melted into ease as she chatted with regulars. Mrs. Kalu always ordering 2 sweet potato rolls, Mr. Baligan requesting cardamom buns for his security team. Gloria remembered their names, asked about their families, and even slipped a free cinnamon twist to a weary teacher. Amara watched, pride swelling. After the lunch rush, they swept floors together. Amara pointed out stray crumbs beneath display cases. Gloria collected them diligently. They paused by the front window, watching pedestrians pause to peer inside. You've built something beautiful, Gloria said softly. Amara paused, broom in hand. I had a blueprint, she admitted, touching the recipe book. But you had the key. Gloria frowned. I ruined years of your life. Amara set aside the broom. You almost did, she corrected. But every loaf we bake, every life we touch, that's our redemption. Gloria wiped a tear. Teach me more. Amara smiled and ushered Gloria into the kitchen for the afternoon's lesson, shaping braided cardamom loaves. As they worked the dough, their conversation flowed, about Gloria's childhood dreams, Amara's college plans, and shared memories of the mother they both cherished. In the swirl of flour and laughter, the past's wounds began to heal. When the final loaf emerged golden from the oven, they cut it into thick slices and tasted together. The spices' warmth and sweetness lingered on their tongues, a reminder that forgiveness, like baking, required patience, precise measurements, and an open heart. And here, in the glow of Mama's hearth, they learned anew, family could be kneaded back together, one careful fold at a time. Excitement hummed through the regional food fair as vendors arranged palm leaf plates and colorful banners. Mama's hearth stall stood near the entrance, its sunflower yellow awning gleaming under the sun. Amara coordinated with the events manager, confirming electricity for the ovens and last-minute ingredient deliveries. Gloria arrived beside her, carrying trays of cardamom, pear tarts, her smile radiant. The fair began with a fanfare of drums and whistles. Crowds streamed in, eager for tastes and stories. Amara greeted the first guests, local dignitaries, food critics, and families seeking a snack. Each sample came with a snippet of Mama's hearth history, how one young woman transformed grief into enterprise. Listeners leaned in, intrigued. As the morning unfolded, a primetime television crew filmed the action. They approached Amara's stall and asked Gloria to share her experience of redemption. Microphone in hand, Gloria's voice quavered. I was selfish and cruel, she admitted. But Amara taught me that compassion can rise anew. The camera zoomed in on her tearful but hopeful face. Amara stood beside her, beaming with pride. Midday brought the judges' tasting panel. Amara presented 3 signature creations, turmeric millet flatbreads, mango lime twists, and a surprise legacy loaf, infused with spices from her mother's recipes. The judges paused thoughtfully between bites, whispering to each other. Finally, the head judge announced, Mama's hearth embodies spirit, sustainability, and superb flavor. We award you Best Social Enterprise and Best Artisan Bakery. Applause erupted. Later, as the crowds thinned, Amara and Gloria packed remaining pastries for donation to a nearby women's shelter. Volunteers accepted them gratefully. A young mother cradled her newborn and whispered, This will feed my baby and me. Amara knelt to speak with her. We're honored, she said. Gloria placed a gentle hand on Amara's shoulder. When the fair closed, the team loaded crates into a borrowed van. On the ride home, Gloria broke the silence. Thank you for letting me stand beside you, she said. Amara glanced at her stepmother in the rearview mirror. Thank you for showing up. That night, back at the bakery, they recorded sales figures. Record-breaking profits earmarked for the college fund, charity operations, and a future second outlet. Amara updated her journal. Today we rose together in more ways than one. Outside, the wind carried the faint scent of fading festival smoke, but inside Mama's hearth, new dreams burned brighter than ever. Winter's first rains drummed against the bakery's roof, raindrops pattering in rhythmic patterns. Inside, Amara checked inventory, bags of flour, crates of mangoes, jars of honey, and began preparations for the holiday season. The annual Bake Hope Winter Feast loomed in 2 weeks, and she intended it to surpass every previous event. Gloria arrived early, carrying announcements printed on recycled cardstock. She placed them on community bulletin boards in town, inviting families to share a meal. Amara admired her stepmother's dedication. "You've become quite the marketer," she teased. Gloria chuckled. "Only because our story resonates." Throughout the day, the team tested new seasonal recipes: cinnamon ginger brioche, spiced sweet potato empanadas, and the centerpiece, Mother's Embrace fruitcake, rich with dried fruits and local spices. Each recipe came from her mother's journal, discovered in Chapter 7, now lovingly expanded with modern twists. Amara observed as Jide kneaded dough with practiced grace. Maria glazed pastries with steady hands. Funk arranged festive decor, poinsettia motifs painted on wooden signs. In the afternoon lull, a surprise visitor arrived, Professor Okoye, bearing a freshly printed scholarship certificate for Amara's final semester. He pinned it to the wall, in recognition of academic excellence and community leadership. Amara's eyes brimmed. She hugged him and then glanced at the framed photo of her mother's graduation, a hopeful echo of her own journey. As dusk fell, the first guests for the winter feast arrived. Widows in well-worn coats, children clutching handmade lanterns, and local elders stooped but smiling. They found steaming bowls of cassava, ginger soup, and baskets of golden brioche. Amara welcomed each with warmth. Gloria circulated alongside her, offering cups of spiced tea. Midway through the feast, Amara called for attention. She recounted her story, from orphan victim of cruelty to bakery owner and philanthropist. She spoke of her mother's legacy, Gloria's transformation, and the community's power to uplift. Tears glistened in many eyes. When she finished, applause and cheers filled the hall. Orphans rushed forward to hug her. Elders pressed coins into her hands for future feasts. After the meal, volunteers cleared plates and packed leftovers for nearby shelters. The bakery glowed with promise. Gloria approached Amara and held out 2 mugs of hot cocoa. They sipped in companionable silence before Gloria whispered, "I'm proud of you." Amara rested her mug beside her mother's recipe book and smiled. "I'm glad you're here." Outside, rain eased to a gentle drizzle. Inside, hope was rising, as abundant and warm as freshly baked bread. The morning sun glinted off Mama's Hearth's new second outlet, a charming storefront painted in warm terracotta with Mama's Hearth Annex scripted across the awning. Amara stood at the entrance, adjusting the ribbon for the grand opening ceremony. Her team gathered, Maria in her apron, Jide balancing trays, Funk clutching a paintbrush, and Gloria, camera in hand, documenting every moment. A small crowd formed, families once served, college students inspired, farmers from the cooperative, and dignitaries who had watched her rise. Professor Okoye offered a brief speech. Amara's journey exemplifies resilience, entrepreneurship, and compassion. He gestured to the crowd. She turned tragedy into opportunity and now expands that opportunity for all. With a ceremonial ribbon cut, customers streamed in. The annex mirrored the original bakery's warmth, but offered new specialties: coconut, pineapple puff pastries, and sweet corn muffins. Amara guided the first guests through tastings, delighting in their expressions. Every smile echoed her mother's kind gaze. Later, Amara led a workshop for aspiring bakers in the annex's back room. She taught folding techniques, yeast science, and the importance of community engagement. Gloria assisted, sharing her story of redemption and encouraging participants to embrace second chances. Together, they modeled a partnership built on mutual respect. At noon, Amara paused to review messages. A university foundation extending a grant for her bakery's social programs, a national distributor interested in carrying Mama's Hearth products, and a community elder inviting her to serve on the town council's economic committee. Each opportunity expanded her mother's original dream. That afternoon, Amara visited her old cottage one final time. The door was open, the rooms empty. She stepped inside, memories swirling like flower dust. By the worn hearth, she placed a single sunflower, symbol of hope, beside the cold stove. She whispered, "Mama, we did it." Back at the annex, she joined Gloria and the team in assembling care packages for shipment to neighboring communities. Laughter rang as they wrapped biscuits and loaves with festive ribbons. Amara surveyed the scene: transformed lives, mended hearts, and a legacy sustained through action. As dusk fell, she locked the door and stood beneath the annex sign. The day's last customers had departed, bell chimes fading. Gloria slipped an arm around her. "We've come far," she said. Amara nodded, eyes bright. "And we'll go further, together." Under a sky painted in sunset hues, Amara looked ahead. A flourishing bakery empire, an expanding network of generosity, and the enduring promise that one woman's courage and one mother's recipes could indeed change the world, one loaf at a time. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.